Welcome back, and thank you so much for watching the last video that was revisited your goals and discussed making weight. Today in this short video, I just want to discuss with you your game planning and strategy worksheet that I will be emailing to each and every one of you later today. What you're going to receive is a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that we're using for the national team. We're using the same one for each and every lifter so that we can streamline our efforts and make our product more professional, quite frankly. And so I've created this worksheet that I'm sending to you, and you're going to notice a lot of information on the worksheet. I've already taken the liberty to enter in your personal bests in competition. I also entered in what you did in your last competition, which for many of you was either Sheffield or it was Powerlifting America Open Nationals. I've also entered, when appropriate, the world records in your particular weight class. Even if you're not within striking distance of the world records, it is important to know those numbers when chips are in play, and so I want to have those at our fingertips on game day. I have also entered in your goals and your objectives as you told them to me and the rest of the coaching staff when I sent out the intake form shortly after you were invited to be on the national team. You wrote in your goals. So I have taken those goals and written them into your game plan. If those goals may have changed, or if we're going to add to those goals, we can do that right on the worksheet. I am sending you this worksheet later today, and I'm going to copy your programming coach or your personal coach. You will send these sheets back to me by Saturday, June 1st. Please, I'm begging you, send them to me by Saturday, June 1st, and here's why. I leave for Lithuania on Tuesday, June 11th. So I will be scheduling game planning and strategy calls with each and every one of you to take place during the week of Monday, June 3rd through Sunday, June 9th. Now, some of you might be saying, wow, you're sending this out kind of early. I'm still going to have some heavy sessions to do. Yes, I'm fully aware of that. We are aware of that. However, I do not want to be traveling to Lithuania and then have to wait until we get there to install your game plan and your strategy. I have no idea what the internet service is going to be like over there, and I literally and figuratively want to interface with you, discuss with you and your personal coach so that we have a game plan in place before we get overseas. Again, the game plan, think of it as an outline or a rough draft. It is fluid. We can make changes. So I would appreciate you filling it out. And then when we hop on these strategy calls, we can put the plan in place. And still, even if you have some heavy sessions to do, for some of you that might be competing later in the week, I understand you might take some of your last heavy sessions like a week out or something like that, and you wanted to see what kind of training data you have from those last sessions. Fine, absolutely no problem. But at least we have a rough draft and outline of a plan in place that we can then tweak and adjust and edit if necessary once we get to Lithuania. So again, sending you the game sheet later, the game plan sheet later today. You will send them back to me by this Saturday, June 1st, and I will be scheduling those game planning calls with you for next week. Meanwhile, before we wrap up, I'm just going to pause for a second, and you're going to watch a short video now on the actual game plan and strategy sheet so that you will know how to complete it before you send it back to me. So let's take a look. Let's take a look at our game plan and strategy sheet for the U.S. Classic Open National Team. I've created this sheet and will be sending one to each of you as well as your personal coach. I want to show you how the sheet works, and I am going to use my man Ashton Ruska as an example. I asked for Ashton's permission, and he graciously gave it to me. I want this to feel real and authentic, and so I didn't want to use some make-believe lifter. I wanted to use one of you. And Ashton has already completed his last heavy squat of the prep, and that's going to become a useful piece of information within this sheet, and I want to show you how it works. So over here, naturally, I added a fresh Powerlifting America logo. When I hover over Ashton's name, I included a link. So when I click on Ashton's name, it takes me right to his open powerlifting, which is fantastic. That's going to be really useful on our strategy calls because at my fingertips, I have all of Ashton's information, his personal bests, his competition history. It shows the types of progressions and load jumps that he likes to take. So as I said, valuable piece of information. Working our way back to the sheet, He is competing at 2024 IPF Classic Worlds. He is a male and he's in the open. So this is a drop-down menu right here that I created. This has basically every iteration of gender and age division. So in the event that you were to use this sheet moving forward, you could simply save it as a new file, change your logo and all the information, and it would be ready to go. Likewise, I've done the same thing here. Drop-down menu for every single weight class, regardless of federation. Ashton is competing in the 105 kilo weight class. He will be in the A group, presumably the second flight, because they typically let the women go first. So I've written that down here. He's in the second flight of the A group. This is typically the area that I leave blank. This is where I will enter his lot number on game day, so we just leave that blank for now. Now, taking a look at all of this information, what I've done is I have entered his competition personal best in each discipline. Again, that was taken from his open powerlifting. I've also entered what he did in his last competition, which for him was PA Nationals. In Ashton's case, his training best, he just hit an 810-pound squat. That's 367.5 kilos. He rated it at about a 9 to a 9.5 RPE, so I type that in this field. When I know that he's done benching, or when he's done benching and he's taken his heaviest bench of the prep, he will enter that information there. Likewise for the deadlift. I have his personal best in good lift points because that's what they use in IPF competition. And then, of course, I have the world records in each discipline. Some of you may not be within striking distance of the world records, but it is important to know those if and when chips might be available and so forth. So I've entered that. Before we get to the remainder of the sheet, key and important, I have entered in this field over here Ashton's objectives and his goals for this competition. These were taken straight off the intake form that each of you completed shortly after you were invited to be on the U.S. national team. So I have written those here. I will also leave space for additional goals. Perhaps Ashton has a tertiary goal. I don't know. Maybe he wants the squat world record and he has more of an emotional attachment to the squat world record than he does maybe the deadlift or something like that. So when the time comes, we can add perhaps tertiary and quaternary goals in here so that he can check off those boxes. Now, when we scroll down to the remainder of the sheet, we have the fields that we enter the attempts in. For this sheet, all you need to do is enter in the pounds and the sheet will auto-populate for the kilos. So you do not need to type in kilos, just type in pounds. So let's just assume for the sake of conversation, and once again, this is strictly hypothetical. I have not spoken to Ashton. I have not spoken to Marcellus. We do not know his game plan yet. We haven't met on a call. But I'm just going to hypothetically say that he's going to aim for a 815 third squat. So when I type that in here, it enters in, or it auto-populates to 370 kilos. Again, a second attempt, hypothetically, let's just assume it's somewhere around there. I know that he likes to take big jumps. Let's say that he opens there, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to fill in some B and some C attempts. On some of these meet cards, I've added A, B, and C attempts. For some of the smaller, lighter lifters who aren't lifting quite as much, your range is a lot smaller, so I only have 2A and 2B. But look, if there is a C option, we could certainly enter that in at the appropriate time. But if I'm just typing this in, creating like a range of attempts or possibilities, it might look something like that. And just going to throw out some warm-ups here. I'm going to use the exact warm-ups that Ashton used at PA Raw Nats. I had the good fortune of working with Ashton in the back. Marcellus was short-handed, so I was able to help Marcellus warm up his athletes while Marcellus was out front and made all the attempt calls. These are the exact warm-ups that Ashton took leading up to his opener, which I believe was also 325 kilos at PA Nats. The reps, I just kind of filled these in. It doesn't really matter. I will leave them blank on your particular sheet, but this would kind of look like what some people might warm up with. Some people prefer singles all the way down. Really doesn't matter. Your national team coaching staff is not going to kick and scream unless you're turning this into a workout and you're doing like 5 to 8 reps per set, which is completely unnecessary. Not going to fill out the rest of the sheet, but I just want to show you how it will auto-populate for a projected total, which is over here. Let's just assume that Ashton is in top form and he's going to aim for, or he's going to get a 2.5 kilo PB. So if we enter in that information, and the same thing over here, likewise, let's say that he's going to deadlift 848. This sheet will auto-populate over here. So this is the best case scenario of a 9 for 9 day when Ashton hits all of his 3A attempts. Look at the potential total. And your sheet will work the exact same way. And as I said, I have done one of these for each and every one of you. Last, you'll notice this cell here. This is for the coaches. I know that Ashton is going to be in a flight of 8 lifters, and I will manually enter this information when the time comes. Presumably, Ashton will be either the last or second to last squatter, so I would write this in manually, and I would write a 7 there, which would let the coaches know he is the 7th squatter out of 8. Likewise, here in the bench, maybe he's the 4th or 5th bencher, and then the last deadlifter. So I would write a 4 or a 5, and then, of course, over here I would write 8 out of 8. And that just gives us an idea of how to time his warm-ups appropriately. So, as you can see, this national team worksheet, each one of you is going to get a copy, and then when we get on our game planning, you're going to send it back to me with your hypothetical proposed game plan, or just an outline or a rough draft, if you will. Of course, it's fluid, it's open to change, it's not etched in stone, and I will look forward to hopping on these game planning and strategy calls with you and or your coach and just working through this sheet. And this is a collaboration. This is not a dictatorship. This is not me filling out the sheet for you. It's me and you and your coach, all three of us, going through this sheet together and making sense of it and installing a game plan that highlights your strengths and mitigates your weaknesses, and most importantly, reflects your objectives and goals and puts you in the best position to succeed when it matters most. Okay, so now you've had a look at the sheet that you are going to complete. Quite frankly, there's not too much more to say than that. You're going to complete the sheet. We're going to hook up on these game plan calls, and I'm really looking forward to installing your game plan and your strategy for Lithuania. At this point, there's not really a whole lot more to do. Just continue to train hard, stay healthy, take care of any aches and pains that you may have, and please do stay tuned for next week, where I'm going to talk a little bit about the banquet and travel tips. Thank you so much for watching.